you constantly feel inadequate, you try something and then you fail, you try again, you fail again. And after many times of this, you start to wonder, why am I even trying? What's the point of all of this if all I'm gonna do is to fail? This is a question I've experienced a lot in my personal life and with a lot of clients. And in today's video, I'm going to share some of the misconceptions we have of failing and trying. And what is the right approach when we are thinking about wanting to succeed, when we are trying to get something that we really want. So let's start with the biggest misconception of trying and failing. That is, a lot of us think we should be naturally good at something, that if we try once, try twice, try 3 times, we should already be succeeding. But we are not. Why is that? Then we start to get into this rabbit hole of thinking, well, that's because I am not good enough. Because look at other people. They are winning. They are succeeding. Why am I the only one who's left behind? But what we forgot is that failing is a universal human experience. Every single one of us fail. Every single one of us constantly feel like we are not adequate. And I'm saying that because of the experience I had over the weekend. I am a competitive Jiu-Jitsu hobbyist and I love competing. I compete a lot. And in the biggest tournament of Jiu-Jitsu, I fail a lot. It's an elimination rule set, meaning that I might fly somewhere to compete and maybe 2 minutes in, maybe 20 seconds in, I got submitted. I lost the competition. Then I start to wonder, why do I even bother to pay the money, spend the time, go all the way here just to compete and then fail, although I know that failing is a process. But when you repetitively fail, it's natural for us to feel frustrated, for us to feel down, for us to feel like I want to give up. So yesterday, I saw a client, and the client also talked about inadequacy in the session. The client was sharing with me that they feel like they've tried a lot in interpersonal relationship, trying to make friends. However, they seem to never be able to do so. And then they asked me, what is the point of me keep trying? Because it seems like I'm never gonna make any friends. I feel so inadequate. What can I do about this sense of inadequacy? And that resonated with me just as a human at that moment. So instead of trying to comfort, trying to be very professional, I disclosed that I too feel inadequate a lot. And when I reflect on, do I know anyone in my life who feel like they are enough, they are always adequate? I don't think I can find anyone like that. Maybe someone who's narcissistic, they might think that way, but everyday human, we don't feel adequate all the time. So the sense of inadequacy is a common human experience. You are a human living on earth, you're gonna feel it. No matter you say it, you don't say it, no matter you see other people tell you that I feel adequate or not, no matter they are succeeding on the outside or failing on the outside, every one of us feel inadequate. So this is the first thing I want you to keep in mind is that your feeling of inadequacy is not just your problem. It's a common human experience. And that leads us to the second point. Why so many of us feeling like only I am failing, but other people, all of them, are succeeding, they're achieving. The biggest problem for us is the modern way of living is social media. I personally use social media. I don't use excessive amount. I don't want to say social media is bad. I'm just pointing out these 2 things. If you're using social media, you want to be aware of. The first one is that social media is a very biased representation of people's life. What we see on social media, on Instagram, is people are showing the most beautiful, the perfect aspect of their life. We're not gonna post on social media saying, hey everyone, I just failed a competition. I got submitted immediately and it was a awful weekend, right? You're not gonna post anything like that. So when you look at other people's social media, it's almost like a condensed version of everyone's happiness, everyone's positive side of their life. And that's filtered because no one only has the positive, the beautiful side of life. But we ourselves know our own pain, our sufferings. So we're going to compare our true experience of a mixture of positive and negative experience with someone else, all positive experience. Of course, we're going to feel like, yeah, they are always succeeding and I'm always failing. But that simply is not the truth. It's simply because the way people present themselves in the social media. So there's a gap between how other people are presented and how we know our true life is. That creates the feeling of why everyone else is succeeding when I am not. The second thing we want to understand about social media is that social media reinforces instant gratification. Everything is very, very fast. When you post something, you're gonna go back to check your phone 5 minutes after to see how many people liked your post, how many people commented, right? And if we don't see anything, then we start to feel like, no one's paying attention. I feel a little bit disappointed. This is a natural response for all of us. But this rapid response has a problem of it reinforces our brain. Now, we believe that we always need to get immediate result, immediate response in every aspect of our life. That's why in modern day, we always saying rapid testing, right? When we got COVID, we want rapid testing. We don't want to wait. When we go to the doctor, we want something to be rapidly fixed. We want to see everything has quick result, but that's just not how things work. We started to lose patience because everything in this world is speeding up because of the internet, and it's convenient. But on the downside, it ignores the natural rule that good thing comes with time. So now that you understand why we are always feeling inadequate and why we feel it's just us, let's talk about the right approach. What is the right mindset for striving? The first thing that I learned repetitively is consistency is the key to succeed. If you look at the people who are a successful person or someone that's important in their field, they've been consistently doing that for a very long time. So it doesn't really matter how much work you do today, how much work you did yesterday. What it matters, you do certain amount of work every day. It can be a small amount. Those days when you have difficulty showing up, when you have low motivation, low energy, don't know why am I still doing this because I'm failing all the time, yet you still show up. That matters. That counts. That builds consistency. And a lot of us understand consistency is important. Yet it's so hard to do. Naturally, because when you're failing, your brain hurts. We don't like that feeling of, I failed, I lost. So what do we do when our brain is really convincing us just don't try again? When the difficult days hit, I want you to think about Brené Brown's very famous speech. She mentioned that hopefully you are failing, because if you are not failing, that means you're not trying hard enough. I really like that sentence. And during the days when you fail, tell yourself that I failed because I have tried hard enough. It's mainly a proof that you're not like all other people who is just sitting on the side because they're so afraid of failing, so they don't even want to bother to try. Instead, you're different. You choose to try and you embrace that failure. There's no shame about it. It's not you are inadequate. On the contrary, it's because deep down, you believe you are enough. That's why you try, and that's why you're okay with the results of failure. I think this is a very good mental model, and it is very true. In fact, when I realized failure is a part of life, I started to take failure less seriously. Then it's easier for us to learn the lesson, because no one wants to fail all the time, right? Eventually, we want to succeed, make ourselves proud. So how do we get there? And researchers in psychology has found the difference between those people who try and fail, and eventually succeed versus people who try and fail and never succeed. The difference is the eventually successful group of people, they learn from mistake. They don't just fail and encourage themselves to stand. That resilience, mental toughness is important. But the other part that's very important is you're using your analytical brain to ask yourself, why was I failing? What can I improve? What can I learn from the past lesson so I integrate into the next trial? This is how we learn. This is how we get better. So to summarize, if you want to achieve something and you are failing, you want to remind yourself that consistency is the key. And failing is not a bad thing. It shows that you are trying your best. And lastly, you don't want these failures to be wasted. You want to think back on what are the mistakes I've made and how can I improve in future and integrate that. So with all these three keys, success will come to you eventually. And I like to end this video by sharing one of my favorite speech of all time. It's Men in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt. It is not a critic who counts, not a man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in the worthy cause, who at the best knows an end of triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place should never be with those cold and timid souls who never know victory nor defeat. Thanks for watching today's video. My name is Chenxi. I'm a therapist who is based in Nashville and was born and raised in Shanghai, China. Here we have the most honest conversation about immigrant struggles and self-doubt. And we don't just talk about a problem, but we also provide you with practical solution. My goal is to help immigrants transform this difficult journey into a deeply meaningful one. And if you are new to my channel, please subscribe. This is the best way to support me. Feel free to share this video to anyone else who also feel inadequate, who are always trying and failing, and who might need a little bit of comfort and inspiration in their life. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.